Alright, what's up guys? I am extremely excited to be bringing you this video. After basically 2 long years, Phantasm Spirals, one of my favorite decks of all time, has basically gotten some fresh, brand new support in the form of Tenyi monsters. This is a blended deck. Literally just came out today, sneak peek. Very excited to be bringing you this deck profile. Extremely cheap core to pick up. Overall, the deck is not cheap, and it is not easy to play. It has some of the most convoluted, complicated rulings you have ever heard of in your life. Nothing. Some of the cards you read, based on what you can't believe what you read. I mean, this is one of the most convoluted, complicated, high IQ decks that there is out there to play. It is a 200, 2000 level IQ deck. But basically, let's get started. We're playing 3 copies of Tenyi Spirit Vishuddha. This card, basically, the new Tenyi monsters, if you control no effect monsters, right? So either you control no monsters, or you control only, like, non-effect, basically. Means this is a non-effect monster, for example. A normal monster is a non-effect monster. A fusion monster with no effects is a non-effect monster. What else would be a non-effect? A token is a non-effect monster, and a monster like this right here is a non-effect monster. All of those are non-effect monsters. If you control those, or you control, or you basically control no monsters, you can special to summon this card from your hand, which is like for free, very good. It has 2500 defense, pretty nice, 1500 attack, and then you can use it for various link plays. And then also this card has a really cool disruption effect, where you can banish it from your hand or from the graveyard, and by banishing from your hand or graveyard, you can actually bounce in a card your opponent controls, which is really good. That effect is, of course, once per turn, and also it is not a quick effect, so you can't like banish this during your opponent's turn to bounce a card. It doesn't work like that. But still, very good effect. An application for this effect, for example, in this particular deck is with classic Phantasm Spirals. You know, your opponent would flip something like Anti-Spell Fragrance, or something like, yeah, either Anti-Spell Fragrance or something like Imperial Order, or something close, or maybe the field spell that, what are they called? Altergeist used, the Secret Village of the Spellcasters. So now you have, you know, an actual out. So you normal summon any normal monster, or non-effect monster, or you can just straight up special summon this. So you can either, the easiest way to do it is to activate this effect to special summon this. Then you link it away for Monk of the Tenyi, and then out of the graveyard activate this card, banish it, and then bounce whatever card is stopping you from activating spells, which is really cool, because now there's an actual out to that frustrating lockout, floodgate lockout that Phantasm Spirals used to go through. So we play 3 copies of that one because it bounces. It is by far the best Tenyi for our purposes, not overall, but for our purposes. Then we play 1 copy of Tenyi Spirit Nahata. By far the coolest artwork out of all of them. And same thing, if you control no effect monsters, so either you control the things that I said, or you control nothing at all, you can special summon this card for free. Stats are not nearly as impressive as the last card. And then when this card, you can banish, this one has a somewhat quick effect. When there's a battle going on between a non-effect monster and an opponent's monster, you can banish this from your hand or graveyard, so it's kind of like, yeah, during the battle phase, so either battle phase, and then you, your opponent's monster loses 1500 attack. Now it's no, let's be honest, it's no honest, but it's not bad, right? It's not bad, and it can help you get over some larger monsters. It's non-targeting attack removal. It is not bad at all. It definitely comes up, and it's very much searchable, as I'll show you later on in this deck profile. Then we play 3 copies of Mystery Shell Dragon. It's a worm, 2000 attack, 0 defense, normal monster, beautiful, amazing stats. Yeah, it fits the archetype. Everything's great about it. Then we play, for our spells, we are moving now to our spells. We play 3 copies of Vessel of the Dragon Cycle. This card basically lets you send one worm, so all of the main deck monsters we play are worms, as you can see here, and remember they have effects in the graveyard, so sending them to the graveyard is key. You send a worm to the graveyard, from your deck to the graveyard, then if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can add a Tenyi monster from your deck to your hand. So usually you can send either Nocta and then add Vishuddha to your hand, or you can do the opposite. Whatever you feel like you need to do that turn, whatever else you have to do, and then of course you can only use that card. You can use this card once per turn, and you have to add. You have to send from deck to graveyard a different monster than you are adding to your hand, basically. Next up, now this is a really frustrating situation. Okay, so we play, and I'll explain it all. We play actually several field spells, but I think it'll all make sense if I just reveal the field spell searching. All right, so we play one terraforming, right? We play two, and I don't want to play this, but I have to. Demise of the Land. I say go out, buy this card. It is very key to own this card. Like, if you want to play this deck, I think you're pretty much going to have to buy this card at this point. Unfortunately, because of Mystic Mine and various other decks, we lost both terraforming and the all-great Metaverse, which is really frustrating because this deck used Metaverse amazing. Like, literally, this Metaverse was made for this deck. It used it so well, but we lost it. So now we only have one terraforming, one Metaverse, and I'd say, you know, definitely play this. Unfortunately, it is so basically what this card does is when your opponent special summons a monster, you can activate a field spell directly from your deck, and it cannot get ashed because it's activating directly from deck. So in that way, it's actually better than Metaverse. But the problem is, this deck already relies on your opponents doing so much work. Like, your opponent has to do stuff for this deck's engine to run, and that's kind of problematic. And then on top of that, this card does nothing against True Dracos, like literally nothing, because they never special summon. You go a whole duel, they won't special summon once. I mean, you're waiting for them to activate True King's Return one time so that you can freaking chain this card. I mean, it's really bad. So you end up siding it out, and then you have a small, like, field spell retrieval engine. And our last, or second to last, field spell retrieval card is Set Rotation. We also play Metaverse, but it's all the way in the trap section. But now, after revealing the Searchers, I will reveal of course, the field spells. We play 3 copies of Pacifist, the Phantasm City, one of the most balanced, but amazing, but confusing field spells in all of human history. I really have a love-hate relationship with this card. I love it because it is a +2 every single time you resolve it. But what I hate about it is that I get into arguments, even with like head judges, about the rulings with this card. So basically, this card, when you summon a normal monster, normal, not non-effect, normal. This is not a normal monster. You know, Blue Eyes Ultimate, for example, is not a normal monster, it's a non-effect monster. Tokens are normal monsters, and normal monsters are normal monsters, but not that stuff. So when you summon a normal monster, normal or special summon a normal monster, you can search a Phantasm Spiral spell or trap card or monster from your deck to your hand, which is already like a +1 as soon as you summon a monster, any normal monster. But its really, really cool effect is that every time your opponent activates a card or effect, you can basically special summon a token, 2,000 attack, 2,000 defense, worm type, so it fits with the archetype, in attack or defense mode, and that actually triggers the first effect to search. So if your opponent just activates, for example, their own terraforming, and you have this on the field, you get to summon a token, and you get to search a card, which is just so awesome. I mean, seriously. It's a +2 every turn as long as you can keep this card on the field. Now, the frustrating part about this card, when your opponent activates that card, it doesn't, the card doesn't go through until, it doesn't automatically, this card doesn't chain to the card. It resolves after in its own chain link. And that comes up in situations where, let's say, for example, you have a token face up on your field, and your opponent Raigekis your token, and they go, okay, so the token's gone, I can keep playing. Well, no, because the thing is, when they Raigeki your token, you can actually special summon a new token in the chain, because as long as there's no tokens on the field after your opponent's card resolves, you can special summon another token. That is the only thing it checks for. It just checks the field for, did your opponent activate a card, yes or no? And secondly, do you have a token face up on the field? So after your opponent resolves its card, then you do it. And I've gotten into so many arguments with head judges over the years over that exact ruling, but just keep in mind that is exactly how you play it. Then we play one copy of Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi. This card is kind of sick. All non-effect monsters on the field are unaffected by monster effects, which comes up here and there. But more importantly, once per turn, if your opponent special summons, hold on, special summons an effect monster. I was for a second there, I thought it said a non-effect. Yeah, an effect monster. You basically, while you control a face down or non-effect monster, you draw 2 cards. So remember, non-effect is all that stuff, including all of this. So basically, it's like Pot of Greed. So the idea with this deck is to be constantly rotating out field spells throughout your turn, your opponent's turn. There's a few cool combos that you can do. I'll show you later. But basically, yeah, you're rotating field spells. You're doing all types of stuff like that. It's definitely key for the deck. Then we've got one copy of Mystic Mine, the card that got terraforming and our favorite card of all time, Metaverse. Basically limited to 1, and it's really frustrating. I really don't want to play this card, but it's just the most powerful field spell in the game, and it's, you can try to play 1 skill drain in this deck, but why play 1 skill drain? I mean, you can play a Mystic Mine that's searchable with 4 different cards in your deck. It's dumb. So you might as well just activate the Mystic Mine. And if you want to get rid of Mystic Mine, first of all, you don't have any effect monsters anyway, so who cares? But if you want to, for example, attack, you can just activate any of your other field spells on top of Mystic Mine and just turn it off at any time that you want to. And to finalize our spells here, we play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. It's Pot of Greed. In this deck, it's Pot of Greed. In other decks, you might not want to play it, but in this deck, it's Pot of Greed. And now let's get to our trap cards. We play 1 copy of Metaverse, because they won't let us play more than that. We play 2 copies of Waterfall of the Dragon Souls. Very good card, synergizes with everything. Basically, it's a trap card that searches a worm from your deck to your hand. Any worm, no restrictions, no level restrictions, no restrictions whatsoever. Just adds a worm. Or you can use the other effect, which is to send worms from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard and draw cards equal to that number +1. Now remember, this effect, the sending is cost. So if you send and they ash, you just don't try to send 4 or 5 monsters and then they ash it and you go -4. Don't do that. And that technically -5 because the card is another minus. So definitely don't do that. Try to be smart with it. Try to give up 1, 2 monsters. Don't go too crazy with it. But more importantly, you can't actually send the Phantasm Spiral token, you can never send the token to the graveyard because tokens they can't actually go to a destination. They can't be banished face down, and they can't be sent to the graveyard because they cannot physically go to a destination. They don't really exist outside of the field. They can, for example, be banished off the field, but they can't be banished face down, and they can't be sent to the graveyard. So you actually can't use your token for this effect, but you can use all your other cards. I prefer to mostly use the first effect because it's just a safer effect. But do whatever you want. Then we play 3 copies of Phantasm Spiral Battle. This card is the only card we're playing in the deck that's searchable with Phantasm Spiral. The city, the Phantasm Spiral City, Pacifist. Basically, this card lets you if you control Umi on the field, which Pacifist counts as Umi, you can. And you control all normal monsters, you can activate this card from your hand, and it basically targets a card on the field and pops it, which is really, really good. And remember, normal monsters, you have to control all normal monsters to use this effect, so this does not count as a normal monster, this right here. Neither is Blue Eyes Ultimate. Normal monsters are just tokens and monsters with that light tint, basically. Next, we've got 3 copies of another amazing card that was printed. Sea Stealth Attack. So much synergy. First of all, like I said, Pacifist counts as Umi. So, when this card is activated, you can activate Umi directly from the graveyard or from your hand. So a great combo is, let's say you have Pacifist, for example, and you have the Flawless card. You search the Flawless card off of Terraforming or something. You send Pacifist to the graveyard, activate Flawless, and then you set a copy of the Sea Stealth Attack face down. Your opponent's turn, begins. They summon at least one effect monster. You draw 2 cards, then you activate Sea Stealth, and then just get Pacifist back out, and now you get to do all your stuff with the tokens and all your other nonsense. You just get rid of that. So it kind of keeps the field spell engine. It's like a, I call it like a quasi terraforming for the deck. It's not really terraforming, obviously, because you can't just draw it and search the Umi, but it's kind of like terraforming. It's enough like terraforming that it helps the synergy of the deck, basically. And of course, it is chainable. So if your opponent tries to Twin Twister your back row, you can chain, activate Umi from the graveyard, and after Twin Twister's resolve, summon a token search. So it's really good for those purposes. Second effect, once per turn, you can banish 1 water monster you control until the end phase, and then face-up spell and trap cards cannot be destroyed, basically until the end of the turn, even if the card leaves the field, which it probably won't, but that is the thing there. So cool lock that you can do is Pacifist, Sea Stealth, and our token here. So the amazing lock that you can do with these 3. So basically, like, let's say your opponent you have a token, you have the Pacifist, and you have the Sea Stealth on the field. Your opponent activates Twin Twisters, pays cost, targets this and this. You activate Sea Stealth, banish the token for cost, because it can be banished, but it can't be, actually, well, the banishing, you banish the token for cost. So basically, banish the token for cost, because it can be banished, just not face down, and then it protects these 2 cards. So these 2 cards, so Chainlink 2, they can't be destroyed. Now, that card, the Twin Twisters resolves. It can't destroy the 2 targets. It goes to grave, it fizzles away. Then Pacifist activates. It looks at the field. You have no tokens. You get to special summon a token because, again, you have no tokens. And then you get to search for a card. So it's pretty broken. And then, so basically it's a pretty broken little lockout that you have here. Stops your opponent from destroying either your field spell or your Sea Stealth or your token. But a cool lockout there. And then let's go into the second effect, which it could possibly be even more broken than the first effect, which is already amazing. Like, this card was just changed the deck entirely. Like, this deck never ever got to be at full power because every time it gets a new card, it's like 2 other cards get hit on the ban list. But it's, things are going in the right direction, I'd say. Its second effect, which is also a continuous effect as long as Umi stays on the field. At the start of the damage step, if a water monster whose original level is higher than 8, the token is whose original level is higher than 5, and the token's level is 8. It is 8. Battles an opponent's monster, destroy that opponent's monster. So basically, before the battle even begins, this trap card automatically just destroys that monster. So it basically turns this into an infinite amount of attack. As long as your opponent doesn't have a monster like Masterpiece or something that's unaffected by things, you're good. Like, literally, you can get over anything because it just automatically destroys them. It is a little frustrating because you don't do battle damage, and sometimes you're really trying to push for game and you're trying to do some damage in time, something like that, and you just sometimes cannot do damage because you're just destroying the cards before you can even do anything about it. Alright, so next we've got 3 copies of Rivalry of the Warlords. Every card you play is a worm, with the exception, every card in the main deck's a worm. The token's a worm. The extra deck has a bunch of worms. There are a lot of worms in this deck. And this card is really actually pretty good against... it's actually pretty good against Orcust, because when they summon Nightmare Mermaid, discard for cost, and they try to summon one of their Orcust machines out of the deck, you just flip this, and their turn is done. There's nothing they can do. They can't. They play like 15 Call by the Graves and Call by the Grave, semi Call by the Grave like cards. But the cruel reality is, Call by the Grave just does nothing against Rivalry of the Warlords. And again, you have stuff like Sea Stealth to protect your back row. So, you know, you have some protection at least against, Twin Twisters and stuff like that. But definitely a very good card. It's also good against Thunder Dragons if they lock themselves into like a Jackalope or something. If that's the first thing they summon, and then like they don't have many other beasts in the deck. What are some other decks? Sky Strikers, let's say they summon Ray. They can't go into their other cards because the rest of their extra deck is machines. It definitely serves a reasonable amount of purposes. It basically locks virtually every deck out of their extra deck. So for those reasons, I think it's very, very good. Next, we've got a new card again, Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi. This card just completely power creeps Champion's Vigilance. Champion's Vigilance used to be a really good counter trap that you could play in Phantasm Spirals because the token is level 8 and it could negate basically anything. But this card is like in every way better. Basically, when a Spoiler Trap card is activated, while you control a face-up non-effect monsters, remember, all normal monsters count as non-effect monsters, normal monsters tokens, and the ones I listed previously, you can negate the activation. So automatically, it just like power creeps it. Because it doesn't have a stupid level requirement or anything like that, as long as you just have a monster with no effect. And then, if your opponent destroys this set card, you can special summon a non-effect monster from your extra deck, which is really, really cool, and why we play the awesome Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon here in our extra deck, because it basically gives us access to a level, 10, what is that, like level 12, 4500 attack monster at any time, which is super cool. But yeah, basically, to be, in all honesty, that doesn't happen like a whole ton. Most of the time you'll negate something, but sometimes, there are situations where maybe you have an awkward hand, you set this, and your opponent's like, alright, I got a Twin Twister in the back row, and you get a Blue Eyes Ultimate. It's not bad. And finally, we rounded up with 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, just plainly the best hand trap in the game, because one, it can get Call by the Grave, and secondly, it's just good against a lot of major meta decks. So I'd say definitely including 3 of this is pretty good. You can also sub this out for the Mirror Forces are pretty good, particularly the ones that don't destroy. You can play a variety of other hand traps or cards that you want, but I'd say this one is probably the best option. Now let's move on to the also great extra deck here. We play 3 copies of Monk of the Tenyi, and I'm bringing it out here. Basically, this card is a Link 1 for this archetype. It's just a non-link Tenyi monster, so you saw which ones were available. It basically gives you a non-effect monster, which is really cool. Then we've got 1 copy of Berserker of the Tenyi. It requires 2 monsters, at least 1 link monster, which is typically going to be the one right underneath it. But you can also summon this with the counter trap if it gets popped, for example, and you run out of Blue Eyes Ultimates. Then we've got 2 copies of Blue Eyes Ultimate. Again, this is if the card gets popped. And 2 copies of Borolo Dragon. These are basically our, what I call the grind game area of the extra deck, so they're cards that you definitely need to play at like around 2 or 3, just because these are the ones that you will actually be using during the game to win. Now the rest of these are all either super poly targets or targets for Ghost Reaper, which we do play. Play 1 copy of Sky Striker Ace Shizuku. No, I'm not kidding with you. If you resolve a Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries against Sky Strikers and you reveal Shizuku, I mean they're pretty much done. Because all you have to do is pop their multi-roll and they're literally done. They can't play because they have at that point 1 Kagari. They have a monster that attacks directly, which is irrelevant, and they have their Widow Anchor, which only affects effect monsters and you play a deck full of non-effect monsters. So literally, they lose. But yeah, definitely them. Heavy Metal Foes Electrum. Electromite for the Pendulum matchup. Pendulum matchup is a tough one because they make a board that's pretty hard to break, and you need to do it somehow, at least interrupt it. One Galatea for the Orcust matchup. I should probably be playing a Saryuja in here, but no Saryuja as of this moment. I do have one. I probably should have put it in there, but now we play the Super Poly targets. Let me preface this real quick. For both of these, both the Super Polys and the what are they called? It's both the Super Poly targets and the Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries targets. When you use these cards, you are using them when you are going second. You are not using them through a grind game. You don't have to play 3 copies of each of these cards because you are using them when you're going second. You are either using Super Polymerization in the standby phase to break their board, their completed board, or you are using it during your opponent's turn to use the Ghost Reaper Winter Cherries to get rid of one of these cards. That is why you're playing these cards. You don't have to play them at more than one because you have 2 specific areas of time that you're going to use them before you activate Pot of Extravagance. So you do not have to play more than one of these copies. Just to be clear, because I always get comments about that. You are using it either during your standby phase of your first turn, your opponent, like basically second turn of the duel. You can either use it during the standby phase of the second turn of the duel, the Super Poly, or during your opponent's turn, you can use these. Next, we play one Mud Dragon, basic Super Poly target, Odd Eyes, Vortex Dragon, and Diplexer Chimera. All of these are Super Polymerization targets. Diplexer I like a lot because you can tribute him, get him off the field, and then you can activate. Then you don't have any effect monsters on your field. It really helps get rid of itself. It's great. So that is the extra deck. Put a lot of thought into that one, but if you have any criticisms, let me know. Now let's move on to the extra deck. The side deck. We've got 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird for the side deck. One of the better hand traps of this format, certainly. Thunder Dragons and Pendulums are 2 decks that are extraordinarily strong. They got hit to a certain degree, but not as much as some of the other decks. It's definitely a very good hand trap to place, particularly since Thunder Dragons, for whatever reason, don't even really play hand traps. So it's definitely a very good deck to play against them. Then we've got 3 copies of Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. Again, this card is basically to knock out those 3 cards that I showed you, and you can switch those up if you wanted to other things. And then we've got 3 copies of Lava Golem. Lava Golem, I freaking love Lava Golem in this deck. So I thought of this a long time ago when I was playing Phantasm Spirals back at one of the YCSs, and I was doing rather well. So basically, the beautiful thing about Pacifist is your opponent has to activate an effect of some kind in order for you to summon a token and then search a card. So Lava Golem, what's great about Lava Golem is that it tributes 2 of your opponent monsters, non-targeting removal. It's basically an inherent summon, just like a Kaiju. And then, during your opponent's standby phase, it activates the effect to inflict 1,000 life points to them, which triggers Pacifist to summon a token to search a card. So it just creates a -1 for your opponent, and then a +2 for you. Like, it's just so nuts how good it is. Because it automatically triggers your field spell. It's in that way, it's so much better than Raw Sphere Mode. And Raw Sphere Mode is actually, believe it or not, kind of a difficult card to get rid of in this deck because you don't really have a lot of non-targeting removal. So Raw Sphere Mode is a tricky card to get rid of once you put it on your opponent's side of field. Whereas Lava Golem, you can just pop with one of your trap cards. You can do any number of things. You can bounce it with one of the new Tenyi cards. You can do a lot with against Lava Golem, but it's actually kind of difficult to get rid of Raw Sphere Mode, and it interacts with Pacifist really well. And then we've got 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Again, just to be key, you are only using the second, and you are activating it in the standby phase. You have to make sure you activate it in the standby phase before you use Pot of Extravagance. So you go draw phase, standby phase, activate Super Poly, fuse their cards away. Basically, the cards that are probably going to negate your Pot of Extravagance. then main phase 1. At the start of main phase 1, you have to activate Pot of Extravagance at the start of main phase 1. Then you activate the Pot of Extravagance, and you get to draw freely and easily. Then we've got 3 copies of Evenly Matched to round it up. Very good against a variety of decks. Quite generally, it's a good card going second. I mean, can we really dispute it? Non-targeting removal, as long as it doesn't get negated, it is basically like a game changer. Flips the game. But that is it. Thank you for watching. I'm so excited to play this deck. It is frustrating that both Terraforming and Metaverse got hit on the ban list, but you know what? We can still fight through it. This deck has evolved so much since it's come out. When it came out, it had 3 Terraformings. It had 3 set rotations. It had so much going for it, but at the same time, so many amazing cards have come out that changed this deck over the years. I wish we could have gotten to play it 100% at full power, like with 3 Scapegoat, 3 Terraforming, 3 of everything. I wish I could have been able to play that, but unfortunately, the way the format grew, I never really got to play it all at once because things got banned because of other decks, and it kind of messed with this deck. But you know what? This is still a very, very high IQ, very enjoyable deck, and I hope you try this out. Thank you for watching.